Hi guys, this is Debbie with Debbie J's Crafting Corner. Today I'll be sharing another project using the Harvest Fair digital kit from TaylorMade Cards for You. As promised in this video, I made a second project using this kit and I wanted to share it with you. Before we get started though, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button and make sure that you also hit the bell so you get a reminder every time I upload a new video. You'll also want to check out Crafters Castle's monthly challenge. The challenge is anything goes and is solely sponsored by TaylorMade Cards for You. This month's prize is the Harvest Fair digital kit that I'm using for today's project. And since the prize is digital, it means that the challenge is open worldwide. So be sure to check the description box below for more information, as well as a link where you can buy the kit. And make sure to stick around till the end of the video. I have a coupon code for you so you can get 20% off your purchase at TaylorMade Cards for You. This second card is going to be a standard A2 size, so I'm going ahead and starting off by making a card base. I'm using some Michaels heavyweight cardstock. I'll cut in half to 5.5 by 8.5 and then scored down the center with my scoreboard. Now I'm just taking some of the printouts, printables that I had used from that kit and going to go ahead and size those to fit on the front of this card. Now this template that you're seeing there is something that I downloaded off of Christina Werner's website. I'll leave a link down below so you can get one for yourself. And now I'm just trimming one of those gingham panels down to fit on the front of my card base. I'm actually cutting it down to 3 3/4 by 5 inches. Then I'm taking my new swatch card and picking out a color that matches the green in that gingham. Bundled Sage was a perfect match and I really love the way this turned out. What I decided to do was do a little bit of ink blending along the edges, kind of creating a vignette kind of look. So it's a little darker on the outside and lighter on the inside. So I'm just taking my mini one of my mini blending tools and just adding a little ink all the way around the panel until it's as dark and as smooth as I'd like. Now I don't want to take away so much, add so much ink that it takes away some of that beautiful pattern on there. Also, not much of this panel is going to be seen because it's going to be behind our main focal panel. So I'm just gradually adding that ink on there. Like I said, that Bundled Sage was a perfect match. It looks so pretty on there. And you may have noticed that this time around my panel isn't moving around as easy. I'm using a silicone baking mat to hold my panel in place. It is a little bit harder for me to move around, but at least I don't make as big of a mess and it does stay in place for me like I want. So now I'm going to do kind of the same thing with that image of the girl in the apple tree. So I'm going to look through my swatches and see what do I have that's going to be a good match with that. Don't really like the way the yellows look, but I think this abandoned coral is a real close match to her little apron that she's wearing, so I thought I'd use that and go around the edges basically the same way that I did the first one. Now I'm using a different blender for this. I'm using one of my life-changing blender brushes because I didn't think I needed too much ink on there. Also, this is a shape and size that I have not used before out of the set that I got initially. So I'm looking to see how that's going to look with that panel I've already inked up, and I think it's going to look pretty good. Now I'm not putting a lot of ink down. I just go around again, just trying to blend it in until I get the depth that I want. I don't want to take anything away from that beautiful image of the girl with the apple tree. And I figure having a little bit of this pinkish tone around her, around the edges, and will basically make it spotlight on her, make the center of that panel look even brighter. So that looks pretty good. For the sentiment, I'm going to be using the extra sentiments that I had stamped and cut out and all from my previous card. So you can always take a look at that other video to see how I did those. I had not yet cut out the the sub sentiment yet, so I'm going to use that same banner die with the little fishtails and put that on the second sentiment that I had stamped as an extra, just in case, and run that through my Gemini Junior machine. So now I'm just removing the die, and I noticed that I didn't quite cut all the way on the fishtail part. Basically, I had reversed the machine so it would come back towards me instead of just going straight through, and it looks like I did that too soon because it didn't finish cutting. That's okay, I just cut that off with my scissors. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and line that cut out, the die cut out, with my die so that I can glue the fishtail on the other end. You can always slide it down and put the fishtails exactly where you want, so I'm going to go ahead and run that through my Gemini Junior die cut machine again. And this time everything cut out perfect, so that came right on off. So now my sentiments are ready. Now I just need to adhere everything together. I'm going to start off by adhering down that green gingham pattern with my dot liner adhesive. This is so funny. The back of that panel, you see a lot of engineering lingo. It's actually a schematic that my husband had printed out for work onto some of my cardstock by mistake. So I'm not one to waste anything, so I just used that and printed on the other side. Next, I'm adding some Arteza foam tape to the back of the panel of the girl with the apple tree, and I'm going to go ahead, I just covered the entire back of that, and then I'm going to pull up some of the tape so that I can position that perfectly in the center of my panel. Now this Arteza foam tape that I'm using is new to me. I'm not really that used to it yet, but what I'm finding is that if I press it down hard, really strong onto my panel, it's easier to remove that plastic release paper. So that's the reason that I was burnishing that down so well. So next I'm going to go ahead and just pull back part of that release paper so that I can position this on the card. What I found is if I leave part of it leave part of the release paper on the panel while I'm placing it, I've got somewhere to hold that doesn't get all stuck to my fingers, and then I can maneuver it around and place it exactly where I want. Makes it a lot easier when you're not real clear as to how close you're going to get to where you want it. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm just arranging that so I could try to get that as close to perfect border around the edges. I am a little bit OCD, so this is probably one of the most difficult things for me. Next, I'm going to go ahead and put those sentiments and sub-sentiments on. I decided that I'm going to go ahead and put some foam tape on the back of the thanks word die. This one was actually from a Simon Says Stamp Sentiment Labels. I believe that's the stamp set that I used. I will look that up and add that into the description down below, and then I'm going to glue the other sentiment straight onto the panel. So the thanks is going to be a little bit popped up, and then the excuse me, and then the sub sentiment is going to be a little bit further down. This is going to, however, be hanging slightly off of that main panel, so I decided to go ahead and put a piece of foam tape on the end so that it will pop up exactly where it needs to on the end there. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Re-add the glitter glue to the rest of that sentiment, and then place it down using my reverse tweezers. So now that that sentiment is on there and straight, I'll go ahead and add the thanks, just removing that release plastic from the back of that Arteza foam tape, It looks like I didn't have it adhered down quite well enough because I had trouble grabbing it, which kind of sucks. But anyway, I got that on there, then using my reverse tweezers so I could get that placed perfectly where I want it, just above the sub-sentiment, and I think that that just looks so pretty. But as usual, it does need a little something more. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to grab my Nuvo Crystal Drops in Autumn Red, and I'm going to go ahead and add a few little dots of that over the card, and that will finish up this card for today. I'd really like to thank you for checking out my projects that I did for this month's Tailor-Made Cards for You design team. I'd encourage you to visit all the other crafters on the team because I know they will have a lot of inspirational projects for you to see. As a bonus, Monica has generously provided a discount code for you. I'd love to see what you create, so come share your creations in my Facebook group, Crafting with Debbie. There's a link down below. Here are some other videos that you may be interested in. Thank you so much for dropping by. And remember, if I can make it, you can too.